In late December, President Biden signed a new defense bill that included an extension of a controversial domestic spying program that allows the government to spy on U.S. citizens without a warrant. Okay, there's some good and bad to this, and you and I both have always agreed to that. I think, and that is that there has to be something in place to where we can capture information that's being used in foreign governments. Okay, it tells us something's coming. The Hamas thing, I don't know how they didn't catch that because there's so much activity there, but that's what it's supposed to be. Here, though, they've taken it and they're finding out that they're using it against private citizens. And you and I have talked about the church hearings that took place. Frank Church, he has these hearings and he finds out the CIA, FBI are not only spying on American citizens, they're actually interfering with their lives.
Yeah.
They're following them. They're causing all kinds of political pressure for them. This is kind of the same thing, isn't it?
It really is, except the difference now is that when people find out, the government could be spying, okay, well, I'm not doing anything wrong.
Right.
What do I have to worry about? We have come so far since the church hearings when this kind of news was shocking. Everybody couldn't believe that the government was doing this. They wanted answers. But now, again, in late December, President Biden signs this. We're still in FISA over 20 years after the launch of this war on terror.
Right.
And what are we even looking for anymore? I mean, obviously, we're not doing a good job with it.
No.
It is not yielding results. It's violating our civil liberties.
Well, that was my point about the Hamas deal. If it had been working, we certainly would have caught that, right? But the point being, we're living at times when there's so much volatility. I mean, I get that you kind of have to know what's going on. But somebody's got to say, you may not, under any circumstances, use this warrant, use this FISA avenue without a warrant to spy on Americans. It's pretty simple, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's been abused so many times. The record of abuse by the feds on this is overwhelming.
Yeah. 2 years ago, 1 million. There were 1 million Americans that got swept up in the FISA. And then the past year, we did a little bit better. We only had tens of thousands instead of being up to the 1 million number.
Right.
But this is, the issue is not having a warrant. If you actually have any kind of probable cause, if you have reason to believe something exists, getting a warrant is not that difficult for these individuals.
You know, the Wray course, it was called before Congress, and they kept asking, well, what about these Catholics? What is this with your spying on Catholics, that you're tapping their phones? I don't know if that went through FISA or not, but I think it did. I think there was some element that even was used, went through FISA, where they were tagging Catholics for, I suppose, anti-government statements, anti-government conduct. What was it? Do you recall?
That to me, I'm not too familiar with that.
Yeah. Wray was in front of Congress, and they were talking to him about that. I never got a good answer. I don't think he ever got a good answer that supplied the reason why we would be spying on American Catholics because of what appeared to be terrorist conduct. I suppose it has to do with abortion bombings or something like that.
It's possible. But look, we do know, obviously, we have activists of all kinds, all over the place, especially environmental activists. We saw it with the Standing Rock in the Dakotas. I mean, we've seen it with the whole Keystone movement. These people get spied on and infiltrated the labor movement, another huge one. And FISA just gives these people the green light, like, hey, we can get into this labor leader's phone because they had a contact overseas. We don't know them, maybe they're bad, so let's just look.
One contact.
Exactly.
I mean, that to me is ringing some bells about the Catholic story. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
And we just at some point have to say, hell no. I mean, but you're right. I mean, I don't think the American public gives a damn.
No.
I mean, I think you got 2 generations behind us. It's a normal thing. I mean, it's just absolutely normal. And we're not worried about it because, A, we don't understand the right to protection of privacy. B, we don't understand the First Amendment. C, we've never taken a civics course. I don't know what the hell it is, but it is a sense that it's not a big problem. Don't you get that sense?
Oh, absolutely. Look, we did a story months ago about the Roomba that's now owned by Amazon.
Yeah.
And it's mapping your house and it's learning what you have in your home to essentially spy on your house.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, okay, well, yeah, sure, but I mean, I've got a robot vacuum. I don't have to vacuum anymore. Yes, I've got my Alexa sitting here listening to every word I say. It's just, people are used to being spied on now that they welcome it.
Isn't it a fundamental of democracy? I mean, really, the right to privacy, isn't that one of the pillar fundamentals of democracy?
It's supposed to be.
And I wonder, how do people get to the point to where it just doesn't matter anymore? When you were coming through school, you took civics classes, didn't you?
Yep.
Yeah, I did too. And I suppose they're still, hopefully, having some civics classes out there, but it's almost like it's a disconnect, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're teaching to the test.
Yeah.
That started happening, 30 years ago. We're going to teach to the test. In other words, you have to take these periodic tests, and we're going to teach you everything you need to know about the test, but we're not going to teach you anything about basic constitutional concepts or literature, basically history of this. You know, there's tons of history about this being abused.
Yeah.
Go figure. Harvard University appears to be already having problems with their latest interim president after it was revealed that he's paid millions of dollars while serving on the boards of several drug companies. Wow. What a deal this guy has, right? So he's making a salary as a professor at Harvard in a department where he's overseeing research, right? So Eli Lilly or whatever company calls him and says, hey, I hear you're working on some patents, right? I hear you're working on some things at Harvard that maybe we can get in and buy. Well, he has his Vertex and Exelixis. Those are the two companies he's looking out for. But he's on the board, and he's paid $2.7 million to sit on the board. You know the problems. We've talked about the problems, what
absolutely.
It means in typical lawsuit. Go ahead and pick it up.
Yeah, what people have to understand why this is so bad is because these universities, especially Harvard, the most prestigious college in the country, that title of being a Harvard graduate carries a ton of weight across the planet. So what these drug companies do, or chemical companies, whoever it is, they go to these prestigious universities, they look at what they're doing, and they do one of two things. One, as you pointed out, they say, hey, you've got a lot of really good cancer research here. You're developing things that might fight off cancer. We want to buy this. So could you sell this to us? So they use it as their R&D department without having to pay for it. And the second thing is the most important. They then, when problems arise with that cancer drug or whatever it is, they say, hey, listen, we've got this paper we wrote that actually says if you do it this way, everything's fine. No problems with the drug. It's your drug. Could you, just sign your name right here on the paper. We're good to go. We got to send it to the FDA.
Yeah, I don't want people to miss what you just said. The company writes the clinical data, okay? They have these folks signing off on the clinical data. They didn't even write the article, but it appears in all these big journals. Their name on it, Harvard, Yale, Princeton, and I'm always across the table from them. This is what I kind of specialize in, is cross-examining these cats. And if you look at their history, they're making so much money. They will say anything for $1 million, anything. I don't think I've ever seen a situation where the conduct in causation is so overwhelming. The corporate type has caused clear harm to the consumer, and the clinical data shows it. The memos, the data, all the papers, all the transactions in the company show that that's the case. But these cats, they show up at a deposition and say, oh, no. We can't know that Yaz is really killing women through a whole host of problems. Or we can't be sure that Johnson & Johnson's baby powder is causing cervical cancer. And we need more information. That's all they want them to do, is come to trial, go to deposition and say, we need more information. That is exactly what they're paid to do. And they're nothing but whores. They are whores for the pharmaceutical industry. And this guy opened that. But I think the bigger story, Harvard's right now, I think in a bad way. I really do believe this thing with Professor Gay, I just have not gotten my arms around it. Here's the history that at least is being reported. 10 documents, clear plagiarism that the board took no action on. Now that's before it really started heating up. This board of out-of-touch millionaire screwballs living in their own elite bubble. They're so totally out of touch with realities of every day. They say, okay, that's okay. That's okay, Ms. President. We're going to support you in that. Any other student would have been kicked out of the university immediately. Their career would have been over. Here it gets worse than that. 50 documents after the 10. Another 50 documents show up. And it's the silliest thing. I don't know if you've seen it. It's entire pages, Farron. She is taking entire pages out of somebody else's work. Some other scientist who's done the research, and she's putting it to her use. And now this is called racial animus. Animus, really? This is racial animus?
I've seen so many articles from websites that I respect that have talked about this, like, oh, well, the right started a culture war here, and it's like, okay, listen, if that's even what the cause of it was, does it matter when they find horrible things? Guess what, folks? People on the left can also be horrible, and we can call them out, and that doesn't make us any less of a leftist to say, listen, what this person did was bad. As you pointed out, any student at that university is going to be expelled on the spot, and they're never going to get another college.
Their career could be over.
Their life could be over.
Their life could be over. But here we've got a professor who it started early on, man.
Yeah.
Her entire career, she's plagiarizing, and this idiot bunch of board members are said, you really need to look at this, because what you've done is you've created this open season to plagiarize. What's going to happen when the next student comes up and says, this is a paragraph I plagiarized? They're gone, man. They're gone. There's no way that you can bring legitimacy to the process anymore. I think this kills, there's so many things about that. And then they keep her on. They're paying her $900,000 to continue being a professor. What the hell? And I mean, to call this racial animus is absurd. Had it been a Hispanic, had it been an Asian, had it been anybody else, oh my God, you've been gone. But this is not racial animus. This is just common sense. We shouldn't have the president of a university at Harvard saying it's okay to plagiarize, and I've done it 50 times, and I've built my career around it. How have we gotten there? That's what I wonder.